Hi everyone, I'm Jo and I'm one of the Student Wellbeing Officers from Student Life, here having coffee on my balcony, which is my favourite part of my morning routine while I'm working from home. And what we've been hearing a lot from students following this transition to learning remotely is that they're finding that the line between their study life and their personal life has become blurred. So without the usual practice of travelling into campus and going to face-to-face classes, they're finding it's much harder to maintain that mental separation between their study time and their personal time. So the result of this can mean it's hard to switch off at the end of the day. It can lead to a lot of stress and overwork and potential burnout. And on the flip side, it can also mean a decline in motivation, finding it harder to get started on things. So there's an article on the student web that I would encourage you all to read, and it includes some strategies that you can apply just to help you to maintain that mental separation between study and life so that you can feel more in control and more productive and just manage your time better so that you can enjoy some relaxation time as well as feeling productive during the day. We're going to share some tips with you now from that article so that you've got some takeaways that hopefully you can apply to your own life. So one of the most important things to think about when making the switch to learning remotely is setting up a study space for yourself at home. Now, not all of us are lucky enough to have a desk in a study or a home office. It might be the kitchen table or dining table, and that's okay. As long as the space is set up where there's everything that you need, you have adequate lighting, and natural lighting is best, and somewhere where you're not likely to be disturbed. Now, I know that's not very realistic if you have a big family or if you live with a lot of housemates, but ideally somewhere that there's minimal distractions and not a lot of foot traffic coming in. The next thing is about establishing a routine for yourself. Now, at the moment, our routine has largely been taken away from us because we're not going into campus and having those face-to-face classes and interactions. So work out a schedule for yourself that is going to work for you. Many of you will be having online classes, so obviously that's an important part of your schedule. Work out how you're going to structure your day and how you're going to structure your week. So how you map it out is up to you. You can use a pen and paper, draw up a schedule that you'll stick on your wall, like as in a daily planner and weekly planner, or you might use an app if you prefer. Work out when your classes are on and look at where the blocks of time are that you can allocate to study. Thinking about as well when you're at your most alert. So some people are more alert and more focused first thing in the morning, other people are night owls. So you know yourself well enough to know what's going to work for you. It's a great idea though not to plan on crawling out of bed at 8:55 a.m. ready for your 9 a.m. class. You're not going to be fully alert, fully engaged and absorbing information. You need to allow yourself a bit of time to feel that you've arrived and to start your day with something that will energize you. So some movement is a really good idea, maybe a shower and a nutritious breakfast as well. Being stuck at home isn't easy, but a lot of us are finding that we're saving time and money by not having to do the commute to and from campus every day. The challenge with that though is that our commuting time, even though it can be stressful, having to deal with finding a park, dealing with ticket inspectors, catching public transport and so on, that time is also time that we're not only physically moving ourselves, but we're also shifting mindset. We're processing our transition from our home life to our study life or our on-campus life. And to not have that means that sometimes we can start the day feeling as though we're not really prepared mentally or we haven't really arrived at our place of study. So what I would encourage you to do is think about how you would normally do your commute. And for some people that might mean catching public transport and then using that time to read or chat to people online or listen to a podcast or whatever. Or they might do something physical. They might be cycling to campus or walking. So thinking about how you would normally do your commute, think about how you can incorporate that into your day and perhaps do your commute in the virtual sense. So that might mean getting up and going for a half-hour walk at the start of the day, listening to a podcast, using that time just for yourself to prepare yourself, focus, and think about what it is that you have to get done that day, so that by the time you get back home, you feel that you've really arrived and you feel ready to start. Similarly, at the end of the day, sometimes people linger at their desk and feel as though they're not really sure when the day has ended and not really ever feeling like they've finished. They've got that lingering feeling of, oh, I should still be doing something. So I would encourage you to do the same at the end of the day by getting away from your desk, doing something completely different. Again, that could be exercise, it could be a bit of housework or some stretching or whatever it is that will help you just to make that symbolic shift from your study to your personal time. For some people, that might mean listening to some loud music. For others, it could be changing your clothes, because that's a symbolic way of saying, I'm leaving one mode and going to another. See what works for you, but see if you can do your commute in whatever way is effective in helping you to feel as though you've arrived at your place of study and then you're leaving again. Another benefit of learning from home is that you don't have to put on any particular clothes. It doesn't really matter what you look like if you're spending all day at home. I would really encourage you, though, not to spend the days in your pajamas. Sorry to say that, but it's not a great idea to do that as in terms of your productivity. While you're in your pajamas, it's not about what you look like physically, it's about your mindset. So staying in your pajamas, your brain associates them with sleep and rest. So it's going to be harder for you to be productive if you're in that mindset. Similarly, when you do go to bed, if you've been in your pajamas whilst trying to do study and important things like that, it's going to be harder to switch off and actually go to sleep, because your brain will be a little confused thinking that it's still in work mode. And it's for this same reason that we really encourage students to not study while sitting on their beds. A lot of people are doing that, and perhaps your bedroom is the place where you can have a bit of privacy and a bit of quiet time away from family or noisy flatmates or whatever. But by studying in bed, again, you're confusing your brain, because your bed is a place of sleep and rest, and that's your sanctuary. If you turn it into a second office and that becomes a place where you do your important work, again, it's going to be harder to switch off and actually get to sleep, because your brain will form connections with bed and study or bed and work, and that will become a place of work, and therefore it won't make sense for your brain to then say, okay, now I'm going to go to sleep, because that's the equivalent of sleeping at your desk. So put on proper clothes. Again, I've worn nothing but active wear for the last 4 months, so that's perfectly acceptable, and make sure that you study at a desk or a kitchen table or anywhere that you can, but definitely not a good idea to study in bed. When learning remotely, make sure that you do give yourself adequate breaks as well, and make sure that they are breaks. So on your breaks, it's a great idea to get up away from your desk, do something completely different, stretch your body. And rather than staying at your desk and just switching to social media or online shopping or anything like that, you'll find that if you stay sitting at your desk all day, not only is it quite taxing on your body, but you'll also feel that you haven't really had a break. Plus, it will be harder to make the switch back to study mode, because again, your brain will associate your desk as a place of leisure rather than a place of work. So we want to keep that distinction very clear between your zone that you're in for study, which is your desk, and your leisure zone, which is anything away from your desk. So I hope these tips have been helpful for you, and I would encourage you, if you'd like to have a conversation with someone about how you're going, don't hesitate to contact Student Life and chat to a counsellor or a student wellbeing officer. I think it's really important to mention that whilst we encourage you to be intentional and be strategic about how you manage your time when you're learning remotely, and to use some of these strategies we've talked about by creating a routine, setting up a study space, putting boundaries in place, knowing how not to get distracted. At the same time, we're dealing with a situation that none of us have been in before, and we're all just having to navigate it as we go along. So the reality is we're not going to do it perfectly. So I'd encourage you to be gentle with yourself, and if you find that you have days where you just struggle to get motivated, if you find yourself getting easily distracted or your routine goes out the window, Don't beat yourself up, but just get back on track as soon as you can, and accept the fact that you're doing the best you can in very difficult circumstances. So that being said, good luck everyone. I hope that you're all having a great week, and don't hesitate to contact Student Life.